may have heard about it, but basically Coinbase launched XSGD. And then speaking of Vitalik, as Buterin names base, a benchmark L2. So they launched the Singapore dollar. And I'm going to talk, because this is a DeFi show, right? This isn't just base news. We're going to talk about how this is going to, or at least how I think it's going to have an effect on DeFi. But they launched the Singapore dollar-backed stablecoin on Base, right? So Coinbase is like spreading their tentacles globally, right? They're trying to offer services around the world. The stablecoin is pegged 1-to-1 to the Singapore dollar, right? And then Vitalik, he publicly praised Coinbase's layer 2 solution for its approach to scalability and decentralization. And he describes Base as doing things the right way, emphasizing its balance between centralized features for enhanced user experience and its foundation on Ethereum's decentralized model, right? So I'm just going to read a couple of these points, and I'm going to go back to my screen, and we're going to talk about why this is so huge. So it says the availability of Singapore dollar-backed stablecoin on Base provides users with increased liquidity options, facilitating smoother transactions and broader market participation. It aligns with regulatory standards, potentially attracting institutional investors. So this is huge because, like, we all know that the dollar is the world reserve currency. And just so let me talk about how stablecoins work, and we'll talk about this one and why this is like so huge. Like, it seems like it's just like, oh, some good news. It's actually really huge. So like I said, we had the Genius Act pass, which allows banks to issue their own stablecoins. We have Tether and USDC, which are the top stablecoins. Even the Trump administration launched their USD1, but I haven't really heard anything about it in a while. PayPal has their own stablecoin. Okay, great. Now, banks are going to be able to issue their own stablecoins, right? And this is going to be very inflationary, guys, because how stablecoins work is that if I go on Coinbase and I buy some USDC, $1 immediately equals $2 because I give Coinbase my dollar, and you can go and read their monthly attestations on their audits and what USDC is backed by. It's mostly like commercial paper and US treasuries. Fun fact, USDC and USDT are in the top 10 in buyers of US treasuries, guys, if you hadn't known. So it's not a small feat. Like, they're really in bed with the regulators, cuddling and spooning. So got to keep it light. So this is huge because once all these stablecoins are getting created, it's going to cause massive inflation. Like, if there's $10 billion in inflation and stablecoins created, that equals $20 billion in the system. That money is going to find its way into asset markets, and the people who are going to lose money are going to be the people who don't invest, and their savings are just in dollars. Even worse, some kind of hyperinflationary token. And that's why stablecoins is crypto's killer app, right? Tether is the top company in the world for the revenue they make in comparison to the employees that they have, because you make transaction fees and then you literally take money and you get to invest it for free, and they don't have to pass along any of the yield. Now, I do feel like stablecoins are going to start to get competitive with all these banks launching their own stablecoins. I feel like eventually USDC and USDT are going to have to start paying out some of that yield. Now, this is huge because the Singapore dollar is huge because, like, Singapore is a really, I think they have like the lowest crime rate in the world. They're a really good economy. So people want exposure to assets like that. And it's really hard to get exposure. Don't think about stablecoins just like normal. It's hard for me to get access to any other foreign currency. Like, it's not impossible, but it's hard. And US dollars are the hardest to get access to because you have to be, you got to be in the system. But with stablecoins, you don't need to be in the system. All you need is a wallet address, man. You don't got to submit a driver's license. You don't have to KYC. All you need to do is go on the internet, make a wallet. It takes literally less than 2 minutes, and send someone an address, and you got US dollars. And now you can save in US dollars and not, or whatever the currency you want, and not have to worry about hyperinflation. Because you have some people in some countries where they'll wipe their ass with their currency because tissue holds value better. Like, this is not a joke. So with this Singapore dollar, if you think about DeFi, guys, it's just going to make DeFi more competitive, because if you have institutional investors getting involved with this, we have stocks coming on chain. There's a podcast I was listening to, and the head of institutional investing at Coinbase, they acquired his company, and now he's spearheading, helping Coinbase put US assets on chain. So it's just like DeFi and TradFi is going to merge, just like Web 2 merged with Web 1. Like, we thought that, people were going to get on the internet and it was going to erase how we were doing things before, but that's just not the case. Like before the internet, we were writing things down. And if you go to any of your parents' or grandparents' house, I guarantee you they still got file cabinets of shit from back to the 60s, right? So it's going to be the same thing here with Web3. Is we're seeing DeFi integrate with TradFi, but TradFi is not ever going to go away. We've been using this stuff for over 100 years, right? Or around 50, probably since the 60s. We've been using the same technology. So the more stable coins that get launched is literally creating a global playing field, right? And it's going to help extend DeFi's golden age. And I say golden age because the more liquidity that comes in and the slower people are to learn, that just means it's going to be more pools pan out better for a while. So the more stable coins we get in, the more projects are being built, the more we can provide liquidity and make yields on not just whatever currency we want, but whatever project that we want in the entire world. There has never in the history of the world has there been a global market that people can play in. All the markets in the world have been siloed since the beginning of time. It wasn't until blockchain technology that's starting to eliminate all this fragmentation. And it's going to be good because if you have a global playing field where it's going to be really competitive because people are going to go where the best yields are, where the best opportunities are. And since we have the whole world playing against each other versus just the United States, it's going to be much harder to create monopolies. It's going to be much harder to basically reign because you're competing with the whole world. So yeah, that's huge stuff.